sure we've got the angels on our side.
You betcha. Yeah, it says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Excellent. I'll just give it a minute. Cool. So I think we are live. Yay, there we go. We are live on YouTube. So, welcome everyone to the Innerstanding Spirituality Show. I'm your host, Aloise Surfleet Middleton. I'm the creator of the Dharma Life Academy, and I am the host of the Dharma Life podcast. And tonight, I feel very privileged, very blessed that I get to talk to these two incredible gentlemen. Every week, we are going to be doing an amazing spirituality show, all things spirituality, how you can implement and integrate spiritual principles into your life to build an incredible life in alignment with your soul. And I feel very blessed because I've got these two incredible guys that I'm going to get to ask lots of questions, and you guys are going to get to ask lots of questions too. So let me introduce you to these two incredible gentlemen. So Josh, first of all, is relatively new in my world, but he's an incredible vegan teacher. Josh X, welcome to this show. I've just discovered your work and I love it. Absolutely love it. Really. I was saying to Josh before the show that I've been making vegan ice cream.
Thank you very much.
But Josh, do you mind just sharing with the guys, because I know you do so many things. You like mystic, raw-based, plant-based, astrology. Like, could you just give a kind of synopsis to the listeners about your work?
Yeah, I spent a long time as a young boy observing my surroundings and not really making too much sense of how the world was working. And as I progressed in my awareness, I separated the world as a corporation and the earth as the divinity that we all need to connect to. And in growing through the information that's here in the realm, you know, via like vortex mathematics, symbolism, and getting back to nature, I discovered that just by observing the English language, I found sequences and coding, and I was able to bring a sort of a new type of etymology that I've never seen before. And words have basically spoken to me. Words are written intertwined, forwards, backwards, in lexigrams, etc. And the truth is hidden in every single word. So it's just about being still and silent and bringing a holistic understanding to people that may be searching for something deeper than they already have existed. So basically, it's ultimately, I've found the truth and it resonates in my being daily with pure bliss. And I want to be able to share this gift with anyone who is seeking this higher experience.
Fantastic. And that's exactly one of the reasons that we wanted to do this show, is to help spread this gnosis, this knowledge to everybody out there so they can have an incredible life. And as you said, get back to the land, get back to nature. And then my other guest this evening is the incredible Charlie Freak, all the way from Mexico. So if you don't know Charlie, he spent most of his life seeking actual truth and is now a kind of fountain of wisdom. So Charlie, welcome to the Innerstanding Show.
Thank you so much for having both of us. You know, Josh's story is so similar to mine as well. I think that's why Josh and I are so close, so deeply connected to one another, because I think for the most part, we've gone on very much a similar pathway. And, you know, what we're doing with Aloise, which we feel so very privileged to be with Aloise, because she possesses the ability to host both of us and to make the show the magical experience it's going to be on an ongoing basis. And really, the whole thing is this. Once you begin to wrap your heads around this higher truth, you're never going to want to leave. You will never, I assure you, this is your home. This is your way. This is your path. And the beautiful thing about the creator of all, is this. You have a choice. You have a choice with every single aspect in your existence. So if you wish to have it end and to change the costume that you wear and have another kick at the can and a brand new go and being a baby and being raised in a family again and doing all those things, you can do that for eternity. If you want something different, this is what's been hidden from us. I promise you, this is the biggest secret that's been hidden to you. You think that all that exists is what you see around you, which is that people growing old and that they're dying. And then some of you believe that that's it. And if you're a good person, you go into heaven with Jesus and Jesus is your Lord, and that's just hunky-dory. Or some of you believe if you're bad, then you'll go into hell and your totos will get burned like little chili peppers down in the depths of hell and the fires of hell, that, you know, whatever. But there is an option, and that option is to stay here and now, and that the form that you currently exist within can continue for all time. The choice is yours. It takes work. It takes dedication. It is the work of all works. There's nothing more important, obviously. So therefore, there is no work that is more demanding of you, but it's a way of life. And once you, as Josh well knows, once you commit to this way of life, it is just that. It's a way of life. And every single thought that you do or don't take, and every single experience that you partake in flows through this decision to connect to the God of the living, not the God of the dead in all moments. And so what it takes to live is just how you live your life. And this is what we're going to be able to share with you on this series. It's going to be amazing because at least we're giving you the choice where you can go from here. But at least you now know you absolutely have a choice. This is what every ancient culture wrote about. It's what exists underneath the Vatican in 50 plus miles of subterranean caves that are filled with books, ancient treatises and gnosis, and they're all teaching the same one story, that you have to go on the journey that Alois is going to help take us on, and it leads to everlasting life. The choice is yours, but at least you have a choice.
And it leads to the most fulfilling, rewarding, incredible life. You know, it makes for me life worth living, to be perfectly honest with you. But so what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis is we are going to be unpacking the 7 alchemical levels of transformation. Woohoo! Yes. And we're going to be making it simple and really so you guys can integrate and understand this information and integrate it into your lives. So we really want this to be a show where you are involved and you get to ask questions, and it's really about your show. You know, what is it that you guys want to know? What is it that you guys want to understand? So we are going to be asking you to send us questions, but we're also going to be asking you to come on and actually ask your question live with us and have a conversation with us and really get involved. So we would ask that you share this conversation and this weekly show with your friends, because it's their opportunity to really kind of ask all the questions. And don't worry, I'm going to be asking those questions to these two and really grounding things and really making them simple, because I like simple spirituality. I like practical spirituality that I can use in my life to make life better. So we're going to be taking you through the 7 alchemical levels. We're going to be starting this evening. We're going to be unpacking calcination, which is the kind of first stage of alchemical transformation. But before we do that, I know, Charlie, you wanted to give a bit of an update. It's an incredible time. You know, we're right before the election. There's so much going on. So I know you wanted to give an update to your kind of regular followers and listeners about what is happening currently.
Well, everything just went crazy when I woke this morning and went back on. So Josh probably doesn't know about this as well either. But just released yesterday is a document that has been verified. It's real. And there's been so many disturbing things coming out of all the countries in the world, but in particular Canada of late. This is a document that was leaked out of a Liberal Party caucus meeting. So these are the cabinet ministers of the Liberal Party. and they were in this meeting, and essentially what was being read out to them is a game plan of what was going to roll out in Canada starting in November, December, and all the way through 2021. And in the show notes, I can provide a link that will take you about a 13-minute link that takes you in depth into exactly what this document said. But essentially, what is being said here is disturbing beyond description. And what it says is that starting in November, they were going to prepare Canadians for a massive outbreak, a second outbreak of COVID. Now they could predict that. I don't know, because it doesn't exist in the first place, but there's going to be a second one on top of the first one that didn't exist, and it's going to be a humdinger. So they're telling these cabinet ministers to prepare for a December outbreak right at Christmas time, and to prepare Canadians for that. And that essentially at this point, it was going to be a transition program to get Canadians tied into an entire system. See, and now this is the whole problem with where people have been going with this NESARA, GESARA. And so many people have been running on and on about GESARA. What we teach, what we've been sharing with you, in the beginning, we shared the protocols of NESARA, which is the only thing that actually has existed before, the National Economic Restructuring Program. And that it is based in truth and in fact, because the basis to the protocols of NESARA are such that you can't have things like usury. Usury, what has enslaved us, and this is the reason why the people who are behind all of this have been kicked out of every single country on earth before they took a stranglehold over us about 100 years ago with the Federal Reserve Act in the United States, and at Christmas time, in 1913. And so we've been living under this game and monopoly, the specious system of control ever since. And so usury has been at the basis to it. And usury is simply this: you charge interest on top of the creation of every dollar into existence. And that's impossible. It's illegal because it's impossible. The reason being is that the only thing that can exist is principle. Principle is the value, actual value, what you have. You charge an interest on top of the principle of whatever it is that you create, then you bankrupted the system. The very first time that you do it, the very first dollar that is now created into existence in the name of the taxpayers of any country that has interest charged upon it, you're bankrupt. It's just a question of how long it will take until everybody realizes the system is bankrupt. The reason being, there's no way to pay the extra penny in interest. Even if they charged 1 cent, how do you get that 1 cent? The only way to get that is to have them create another dollar, other interest charge, and then you take the $2 and you pay the 1 cent in interest, you get 99 cents back. But of course, now you owe 2 cents. And so eventually you just have borrowing and borrowing and borrowing and borrowing more money until such time that the system is so taken over by the cost of the interest charge against the original, the original principle, that the system can't function. There's nothing that can be done other than just paying that interest, which is impossible to exist in the first place. This is the base of no taxation of a man's intellectual property or sweat equity, not have usury, and through all of this, we were going to be moving forward into a future that is going to be lawful under the laws of the land, the Creator's laws of the land. And there are only 3 of them, and they're very, very simple, and they're very straightforward. The problem is that they have an alternative to that, and theirs has strings attached. And this is what was released on the weekend in Canada, is this rollout of what they're calling a debt forgiveness program under the protocols of GESARA, the Global Economic Restructuring System. And so to do this, what you have to do is sign up for the program. And in doing so, you have to surrender all property and all assets over to the government. And in return, they will put all people on what is called a universal life wage. And then all your debt is removed, and it's just this wonderful life moving forward of capitulation to the government. And then what was in this document that was so disturbing, and people were asking in the caucus meeting, they were saying, yeah, but most Canadians are not going to go for this. So what do we do with those ones that don't go for this? And they're saying, that's your problem. You have to make them go for this, because if they don't, the only alternative are these camps that they are building in earnest, that exist in all provinces and every single territory, that essentially are concentration camps. And that once people are removed to the concentration camps, they then have a choice. And that is either to capitulate and then return back to your life, sans your liberty, sans your property, sans your personal assets. And by the way, it says right in the document that you're able, once you capitulate, once you sign to this document, suddenly the COVID scare no longer is a problem, because you're allowed to move freely anywhere you want to. Because what was going to happen on December 31st is that they were going to make a no travel zone in Canada, that even within cities, there were limitations to boroughs, and that if you're in this borough, you didn't leave this borough, and you didn't go from one part to another, or from one city to another city, or one community to another community, and no out of province travel. So no one in BC could go to Alberta and vice versa, or to any other province in Canada. Now, this isn't fake. I verified this. This is a real Liberal Party caucus document, and Canadians are freaking out en masse. Here's the deal. We can end with this. It's being released now because we're at the end of this 2-year-long movie. All of this has been a movie for 2 years, where the arrests were made. I made that huge video with Mark Devlin, the takedown of the cabal from A to Z. It's, over 2.5 million views worldwide now. And everything was done, and they were taken down. So essentially, for about 2 years, we have been living a movie where the people of the cabal, these evil demons who have been allowed to stay in positions of power, are doing so under very, very, very strict regulations and controls. And they have been, essentially what is being played out is that they're forced to roll out what their evil plan was, except it's not going to happen. But you see, the reason that they have done it this way is because of us. It's not them, it's us. We no longer believe what we hear. We have to see it to believe it. And for 2 years, we have lived absolute madness, and none more so than the COVID ridiculous scare. And the reason is because we have to see the extent that humanity has truly fallen. We have to see the extent to which mankind has truly become a nerd within the system, and the depths that we will sink to follow or obey authority instead of exalt individual self, gnosis, connection to God, power, all of these things that are within you, that are your right to be beholden to in every moment. People have capitulated to authority without even asking questions. And so the mask thing is ridiculous, and now another outbreak. So I just wanted to bring that up for this. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. The reason we are now days away from the election on 11/3, and you need to think, I want you, everyone listening, to think of this. I want you to think of the numbers 11/3, 11/4, 11/5, and then 11/11. These are very powerful numbers in terms of numerology. They are very powerful numbers. They also relate to specific dates. November 3rd, the election. November 4th, the first day after the election. November 5th. Now, everyone from Britain should know the significance of the date of November 5th. Remember the great gunpowder plot. Never, ever, ever. I can't see a single reason. I cannot see a reason why I should ever not remember the 5th of November and the gunpowder plot. Guy Fawkes, it was the last honest parliamentarian that existed. And he has been turned into the butt of jokes and the effigy on Halloween in London and elsewhere, because he stood up for what was right and would not go along with what is wrong. And so on November 5th, something very, very major is going to begin. And this is going to be the symbolic date of taking back what is rightfully ours. So I just want you to think of these dates. The election is 11/3, 11/4 is the first day after, 11/5 is the 5th of November, the great gunpowder plot and treason of Guy Fawkes on 11/5, and the whole of our reality is about to change forever. And it's not going to change negatively, it is only positive. And if all you did was just simply meditated on this, you would know it, because you would feel the strength. You would feel the sinew within you rising. You would feel what I'm saying resonate with you, because it's true. So I just want to say to everyone listening, and especially to my Canadian brethren, it's, yes, this report is real. Yes, it is disturbing beyond description, but it's what we Canadians get when we are so passive in the face of such an evil agency, which is the supposed government of Canada, which are nothing but role players for demons pulling strings elsewhere. So it isn't going to happen. They're releasing this to you because everything is coming to an end on November 3rd. We're almost there. And that's why everywhere in New Zealand and Australia and the UK and Ireland and France, all of these reports are coming out of the most horrific things, because we're at the end of this 2-year-long movie. So, but the reason, again, you had to see this to believe this. And this last report in Canada, if that doesn't do it for you, if that doesn't allow you on your own as a Canadian to go, I'm not sure about all these different conspiracies, but all I know is that government is evil, or government is evil, and I've had enough with these bandits, then there's nothing that could ever awaken you after this release of this documentation. So it's real, but it isn't going to happen. We've won. The war is over. This has been a movie for 2 years, and the massive change is coming. 11/3, 11/4, 11/5. There'll be a period of darkness. That just means that all of this access to the internet will stop. All of the access to television, everything will stop while the entire system resets itself. And then when we reawaken, approximately 10 days later, what we're going to find is a brand new reality, and that all of these evil governments that have been in power will no longer be there. And there will be transitional agencies that are designed to help each nation maintain peace, calm, and allow you to have access to real freedom as you move forward to a point where you can freely make a decision via the ballot box to choose whatever transitional government you want to have moving forward. So again, sorry for taking the beginning of the show, Josh and Alois, but I just wanted to share that because so many thousands have been freaking out this morning about this. It's real, but it isn't going to happen.
And Charlie, the 10 days of darkness, you predicting before the election or after the election?
I can't speak specifically to when they will do it, but it is my understanding. Colleen and I have really worked at this, and my understanding would be Guy Fawkes Day. Because it's very symbolic of taking back what Guy Fawkes set to do, which is symbolically to destroy every parliament building in the world, symbolically to take down all of these evil governments. And then when we come back online, then you're going to see the world that Guy Fawkes was willing to put his life on the line for, which is what we should always do, because the moment that we live without actual freedom, we are prisoners. But the worst place, we're prisoners of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fantastic. Wow. Okay, and that's really close. I can't believe actually how close that is. So yeah, exciting times, like you said, coming to the end of the 2-year period, and now it's kind of grounding and action time. So yeah, thank you for that update. I know that everyone will be really pleased to hear what's going on hot off the press. So coming into our 7 alchemical levels, the real true knowledge in humanity had to go underground to kind of survive persecution. So before we kind of get into the alchemical first alchemical level, like Josh, would you mind kind of sharing a little bit about this gnosis and what happened and why it had to go underground and why it's kind of hidden in occult symbolism, and kind of, you know, you have to almost decipher it as such. Why did that happen?
I think the reason that it had to happen is because mankind had to take a fall in consciousness. So the consciousness was going through cycles, and as people were being rebirthed because they hadn't quite freed themselves from this samsara cycle, the game had to keep dipping like a sine wave and moving forward and backwards and up and down. And right now we're experiencing a raising in awareness. If we actually see consciousness as a thought from source, every thought that's ever manifest has to be experienced by us to overcome, to gain this awareness as self. So really it's nothing too complex. It's really just life has cycles. True astrology is as above as within. So we take these cycles as the energetic fields do with these magnetic pulses. So we just need to look at life very simple without overcomplicating it with thought from the ego, and to be able to just sit in stillness and realize that if we haven't freed ourselves from thought, emotion, we block our energy centers up. And if we remain here in samsara, we will continue to cycle and pulse with the magnetic field that generates this existence. So we're just on a cyclic event. And this is forever changing and forever expanding and contracting. And there's nothing more to it. It's really basic and it's very simple. And, you know, as Charlie said earlier, if one wants to free themselves from the cycle of samsara, all we have to do is go within and find ourselves. And these series is going to bring it in a modern day term, so we can all find this secret in a very simple way to expand our awareness, to leave the ego, and to be able to express ourselves honestly with non-thought, non-judgment, to be able to win the game and get our wings. And this is why wings is spelled win-G, because we're here to do this, and this is where our awareness needs to be. So, you know, as the extremity of the illusory delusion in the matrix is going through another cycle, this is just a thought form and it's manifesting inside people's awareness. But the truth is, you're not the corporation, as every single country is a registered business. The mark of the beast is your commercial numbers. If people go into commerce and they are employed, this is what takes them from source. As
That's
Jesus
the mark
said,
of the beast.
that is,
Right.
we need to throw out these money changers and walk on water, and in doing so, live life in our own special way, and we will inhabit this earth as the meek shall and bring forth fruitful nature and heal absolutely everything. It's the corporate world that has destruction in, but the earth remains the same, waiting for beings like us just to go back, inhabit, and plant the fruitful seeds. So it's very simple.
Nice. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I'm curious to know kind of, because obviously alchemy is turning lead to gold, and the process of it, and obviously the 7 alchemical levels kind of, in essentially they are that process but from an inner from a person perspective.
Yeah.
So although it's kind of alchemy is led to gold, what the alchemical levels are showing us is how we can transform internally to our inner gold as such.
Yeah, if you look at the word gold, it says the goal of D, and D represents 4, which is form. So the gold is expressed in consciousness of our language as this the goal of our form. Now, if you look at the aura, it's AU Ra, which is the golden sun. And these have 7 incandescent colors of light, and these holistically create this golden glow. Now, separate, they are the colors of the rainbow, which is Ra in a bow, which is the sun in the bow. Now, these 7 colors represent 7 different vibrations. If you look at the word vibration, you can see VIB Ra. Now, this is all to do with the sun, but we'll get into these as we progress. Most people can get blocked, be locked energy centers just by thought. And these are all different resonance. And this is how we get rebirthed into another entity, by where we remain set in these energy centers, because our vibrational match will be carried out until we've matched this vibration once we've left the body, to continue the growth via the vibrations set in this Chakra system. Because
So is that
Chakra,
why humanity's kept in the lower chakras? So we're kept in fear to keep us essentially.
but fear dominates the ego via thought. So once one's in thought, he's separate from the moment of now. So when one's not living in this present moment, I'll bring language into it. If you look at the word now, backwards it's one. And this is how you win, by being in the now. And the present is the greatest gift of all. And presence or presence is before senses were accumulated from ideas of what we've picked up via this experience. So the experience that we have and the belief that we're this persona or this physical body is literally just the accumulation of what we've seen externally. But internally, there's nothing apart from stillness, silence, and all-knowing. So fear predominantly keeps us in the thought realm, which takes us from the now, and we exist in the ego. So this is why we act on a lower predator behavior. And this is what we're here to do, is to free these energies up so people can see and liberate themselves. Because this is the most simplest way that we can find freedom with the truth. Because research and information will take you so far. You can get trapped in information. You know, information is supposed to build this temple up until you become free. But I see a lot of humanity getting trapped inside boxes of information. So there's keys here for everyone to see in a simple way that, you know, just a blockage with this, you know, if I can say virtue system, okay? The virtues is how we exist, is a virtuous reality. And the 7 sins represent the 7 colors of the lower spectrum. And the 7 virtues represent how we climb Jacob's ladder. So if we can study the virtues and really understand that these are all thoughts, you know, like greed, for example, is an accumulation of ideas of scarcity. So then you want to either take things that are non-necessary for you, but it doesn't mean that you can't have the things in abundance. It just means that these things can't have hold of you via thought. So once you've freed yourself from thought,
Right.
the gift of experience will flood you with abundance. But until that thought has been overcome, your matrix in this electromagnetic universe will create the greatest lesson of all, which is pain via this physical body through thought, emotion, and an external experience until the lesson has been learned.
Because I remember like this. So this first stage, just to sort of set the scene for everyone listening, this first stage is calcination, effectively burning away the ego. And I remember on my journey when I was about 25, I had a situation. I worked in the city, and I had a situation that totally burst me out of my ego. I was running a quite a high performing team, £1 million team in the city, and I had one of my guys leave, and my boss told me it was because of me, basically. And it totally popped something inside of me. I really remember it, and it was like my ego completely popped, and I looked at my life and I looked at what was happening in a completely different way than I had before. And so I suppose I wanted to bring that up, because when I was preparing for tonight's session, I kind of felt that the start of my calcination process.
Hmm.
So I'd love you to kind of, how does that show up for people? So calcination is stage 1. What does that actually look like? For is
It's
that
recognizing, I would say, if you look at the word recognize, it's recognize. So it's having the ability to see oneself in a different light, and to be able to take a look at yourself and realize you're separate from the thought, because those that judge shall be judged first. So as you judge everything with labels, you see the word label, it says El Abel, and there's Cain and Abel, and to label things separates you from this ability. So really it is judging things, and
okay?
having a removal of the judgment, because you would be judging this character, and all of a sudden you were almost hit in the face with non-judgment, because the ego was destroyed in that moment because it wasn't sure what was going on, and it started to panic. And then all of a sudden you had a moment of clarity, and then in that clarity comes non-thought, and then you find a certain space that exists other than a crowded space of just words and noises that fire from the left to the right. So it's I would say that the first stage is acknowledging the fact that you are separate from thought, and then we tackle this thought via our virtue system.
Yeah, and that actually resonates a lot with me as well, because you're talking to someone that suffered with chronic depression and
Yeah.
anxiety for a long time, and I was my thoughts.
Yeah.
And I was trapped in my thoughts, and consequently it really, wrecked my life as such.
Separate from this now, because the thought takes you away from this moment in a dream world or an illusion, because the thoughts are trying to dominate you, and that is pure ego trying to suppress you from liberating yourself, because all it wants is domination.
Nice. Interesting. Charlie, can you elaborate a little bit more on, because I love this concept of, well, for me anyway, I know that my thoughts were the thing that really trapped me. And, I thought I was my thoughts, and I thought literally that everything I told myself was the truth. And consequently, it, lowered my vibration, kept me in a very anxious, depressive state for quite a period of time. So Charlie, how would you describe calcination?
I think Josh has done a perfect job. Josh and I have discussed all of this in just the most beautiful, free-flowing conversations, where one thought of his finishes, where I continue, and then he continues, and we're just of the same mind with all of this. And again, I'm really glad that we started the show with that update about Canada, because again, this is everything that they do is pre-planned, and everything that they pre-plan to do is designed to control your mind. And so, like Josh says, look at all of the words that exist within organized society. Government itself. Ment is mind. That is from Greek and Latin. Mente is mind. Govern the mind. And they give us entertainment, and enter is to go within, tain is to hold, and mente is the mind. Entertainment is to go within and to hold your mind. That's what entertainment is. It is not just a distraction. That is too soft an explanation for it. The truth is that it's mind programming. This is what they're interested in. This is the only way that a few people can rule over the many, is by controlling your mind. So Josh made some really key points that I want everyone, if you got a pen and paper, just get into that habit of writing. Get a book for these shows. Get a book for these shows, and then write things down. So this is show number 1, and this is calcination, the first step or first level of the alchemical process. Write it down. These are your pages, and write these notes down, because this is the truth, and this is the basis to your salvation. And so Josh said some really, really, really key things, and that is that the very nature of creation is the now, and therefore it is a singular thought in the now. So the thought of the now never turns off. It never turns off. That's all that there is. That's what's creating. So I do this on my shows quite frequently, and I always do this. And I say, okay, so let's, and at 5 seconds, we're going to drop into our camera that we have with God. I have a great relationship. We're buddies. And so he's agreed to allow me to put a live feed with God at all moments. And so we're going to drop it. 3, 2, 1. And there's God now. Hi, God. How are you doing? And I'll guarantee you that that's what it is. It is eternal, perpetual meditation. It is the only way. It's why the earth has never moved. It's why the earth will never, ever, ever move. The whole goal and purpose. And this is why when people struggle with the concept that the earth has never, ever, 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 ever moved, and that everything is on the level. Everything is on the level. Everything is on the level. Why they struggle with this is because their minds have been programmed and brainwashed to believe something else. But why they really, really rile against this is because they don't know any truth about themselves. If you simply knew some basic truths about your own physiology, like I always say, the sphenoid bone in your head, if you just knew a little bit about your own physiology, it would just go like this for you. It would just go like this. But because we're not taught any useful actual knowledge, just this bullcrap information, we get led down garden path after garden path after garden path, and they're all dead ends. That's the problem. So, one, Josh said that there is a consistent singular thought of the creator in every single moment. And all you have to do is silence yourself and tap into that stillness and silence and tap into that consistent thought of the creator. And then when you've done that, that's living in the now, and you've won the game. You've won when you're in the now, because what exists in the now, that's why nothing bad can ever happen to you. I guarantee you, no matter who you are, or all the different people in history that have existed, no one has ever experienced something bad happen when they've been living in the now. You can't. You absolutely cannot have a negative karmic moment when you're living in the now.
It's very, so coming from somebody who was chronically depressed, it's very easy to say live in the now. But if you have a backlog of trauma, if you have a backlog of negative emotions that you are carrying, it's, for me, I found it impossible to live in the now. So how would you, someone's listening to this and they are suffering with anxiety and depression, what advice do you have for them around helping them live in the now?
Well, this is it. This is what Josh and I talk about all the time. No matter what show we're doing together, we're always talking about the question that you asked, because it's everything. This is what's called the alchemical work. And the alchemical work is to become alkaline. Do you see the symbology, the similarity between these words? They're one and the same. Alkalinity is what we must achieve. What is the opposite of alkalinity? Acidity. That makes up your litmus paper. If you look at litmus paper, there you go. There you go. There's your rainbow. Josh described that there's 7 layers of the rainbow, 7 colors of the rainbow above, which is virtue, and there are 7 colors of the rainbow below, and that is sin. Now, just take a look at litmus paper. What's in the middle? That's what Buddha taught, the middle way. That is the green plane. So when you get to litmus paper, you get to 7. What's the color? Green. Okay. What on our earth is green? Plants. So maybe you can achieve, maybe you can alleviate your depression and anxiety by eating plants. Yes, because plants are the whole point. Green is the whole point of your litmus paper. Let's go back to the litmus paper, 0 through 14. In the middle is 7. The middle plane is green. That is the balance between alkalinity and acidity. That is balance. That is harmony. That is homeostasis. That is peace of mind. And there's nothing, you can't have negative thoughts or bad thoughts when you have peace of mind. That's the middle plane. That's a plant. So once again, the word alchemy is the same as alkalinity. To become the alchemical master, you must rise from hell Hell is right here, and this is acidity. So acidic foods take you away from peace of mind and make you worry and make you anxious and make you aggressive, make you violent. That's why they feed soldiers meat during the war. One time only, they were telling civilians to eat fruits and vegetables. The soldiers needed the meat. Do you remember those posters from both World War I and World War II, telling the individuals to eat plants and fruit and vegetables and let the soldiers eat the meat? Because it's an explosion of negative hormones and violence inside of us when we eat, because that's acidic. So there's your litmus paper again. There are the 7 colors that Josh talked about, but this is hell. And look at the colors on litmus paper. Once you descend from the green plane of the Buddha, the middle way, what do the colors do? They shift, and it's orange until it gets blood red. And that's the depths of hell, and that's acidity. Everything there is acidic. And then when you go above, what happens to the colors? From the green, it begins to shift and change to the blue and then to the purple. You see how everything is encoded with regard to our chakras and the chakra system. This is from the root red Muladhara chakra to the whole goal or purpose with us, which is the 6th in-body chakra, which is Ajna, which is the purple chakra, which illuminates the crown chakra, which creates this explosion of purple rain that gives us the magenta colored lotus flower, 144 petaled lotus flower in absolute perfection upon the crown, which is peace, representation of peace of mind. This paper plain, so that's why Josh always teaches, whatever he does, food first. It's not the most important thing, but you cannot do this process until your food changes, because your food, you have been taught for 100 years to be consumers of the acidic world. Acidity is death. All you have to do is take acid in any form and just observe it with anything you want. Just observe what acid does to anything. Imagine what that's doing to your teeth, which are perfection of the alkaline realm. Your teeth will exist forever. You don't have to do anything to them. They're perfect in alkalinity. Why would we put battery acid on our teeth? That doesn't make any sense, and your teeth aren't expecting it. So there are no protocols or protections for them, because why would you do that? And it's the same thing with what's going on inside our bodies. There's really no protection for all this acidity that we're ingesting inside, because why would you do that? Why would you do that when we are alkaline creations? We are frugivores. We live on the green plane. We partake of the green realm on the surface, and then you just have health. This is what Hippocrates was meaning when he made that very famous statement, which is, let food be thy medicine. It's your medicine because your food, which is what he said, is plants. And then plants are thine medicine because they're green, because they're alkaline, and they give you life. And green is the balance between here and here. And that's what the Buddha taught. So you see, in all of these ancient scriptures, they're all talking about the alchemical process. You think that these are history books? They're not. You think that these are religious texts? They're not. These are basic documents, perfect documents of human physiology. And it's this one story that Josh was talking about ascension. So you're talking about practicality. How do we do this? So I know what you're saying about thought, and God is meditation, everything is still and silent, and so we need to do that, but I can't do it because okay, remember, human thoughts are temporary. That's why they exist between your two temples. That's why you have temples. The root of the word temple is tempor, which is transitional or temporary. So everything that happens in that realm is a temporary experience. You see, you do not have to be associated with your thoughts. You don't have to be associated with your 5 physical senses. They're all temporary. It means that they can be turned on or shut off. What is the now? What is the one? What is always, what is permanent is here. That's in the middle of the 9/11, right? These are the Twin Towers. That's the symbology, by the way, folks, of the destruction on 9/11. This is always your 11. Your 11 are your twin temples. That's why it's the mass star number, because it's guarding the 9. 9 is the seat of your soul, and that's what this show is all about. This is God consciousness. 9 is God consciousness, and your soul is a piece, a unique, one-off, never, ever, ever replicated again component of the whole. So we're all brothers and sisters because we truly come from this 9, and this 9 doles out all parts of the soul to each and every one of us. So we are the unique part of us, and everyone is our brother and sister. So when you hate people because of their color, you hate yourself. When you hate people because they look different from you, you hate yourself. When you hate. When you judge, you hate yourself. You hate yourself because your ego is in charge. So practicality, how do we do this? How do we do this? Always into it's the food that you intake into your body, and then it's your breathing. Where do most people breathe? They breathe the wrong way. Shallow breathing is the wrong color of the rainbow. When you take the Buddha breath, I just did that podcast with Mimi Gund, and we talked about her book and this process of the proper yogic teaching, which is all based upon these Buddha breaths. And when you breathe of the belly, when you breathe from your diaphragm, so diaphragmatic breathing, most people don't even know what that word means. Diaphragmatic breathing is life. Diaphragmatic breathing is eternal life. It's that simple. So you talk about practicality. I can't make it any simpler for you. At the basis to everything is the breath that you take and the food that you eat. If these breaths be alkaline, if this food be alkaline, you will no longer suffer from your thoughts. Your thoughts are not you. They are temporal. This is permanent. And if you eat and breathe the right way, you connect to this.
Yeah, beautiful. And I think, just building on what you're saying, Charlie, that, I can see what you're saying about the breathing, and obviously you're saying about the alkalinity. But I think something that really popped or really helped me was, we're not our thoughts. And that may sound a really simple thing to say, but it's a very clear distinction that we have to realize, because often as humans, we get stuck in stories, we get stuck in our thoughts, and we actually think that they are reality. So stepping out of that and understanding that our ego will want to keep us small, it will want to keep us safe, it will want to keep us in a place of almost like repression, and understanding that we are not our thoughts and we don't actually have to listen to our mind. We have a choice. And then if anyone is suffering from anxiety and depression out there, personally, something I did was journaling every single day, just journaling out all those thoughts, all of that stuff that is going round and round your head, clogging up your system, get it out your system and really kind of make space. And, so Josh, one thing I'd like you to talk about is, because obviously, we talk about meditation and going into that place of stillness, but when somebody's in this kind of first level of alchemical transformation, our minds are busy. I often hear people say, I can't meditate, and so how do we go from that place of I can't meditate, I can't sit still, I can't go inward? What would you say to someone at that place? Because a lot of people want to meditate, it seems like meditation is the key, but what if they can't? They're kind of like, how do they get there? How do they get in?
I would say don't think about meditation until you know what meditation truly is. Now, meditation is not sitting down and being quiet. It's about being balanced. So if you look at the word meditate, it says me die at 8. Now, die means perfect balance between the red shift and the blue shift, the masculine, the feminine, the left and the right. So in between both of these, there is non-thought and non-judgment. But to even think about meditation is to create a thought. So I would recommend not even trying to meditate. It would be to try to recognize the thoughts that are being a part of your wavelength. So to just recognize that these thoughts here are dancing around in your mind is the first stage of becoming aware of this meditation. Now, for somebody to try and sit still, it's actually going to create more thoughts. So I would suggest to understand, like, true magic is what we're expressing right now. But for instance, if I mention someone like Aleister Crowley, the world's warped this man. He used to conjure demons and spirits. But the true nature is this demon is a thought demon. So what we need to do is protect our awareness. So if we watch films and movies and news and go to work and we look at revealing lies instead of the truth, we clutter up our mind with thought forms that we now need to overcome to find this newfound awareness. So the more you put into the mind, the more that the mind needs to free itself. So I suggest slowly over time, you need to stop watching the TV, stop looking at the media, stop trying to acquire information, and just look inside yourself. And over that time, the mind can find space and become still in a way where there's not thoughts that it has to overcome. So first, I would stop putting thoughts into the mind to protect your awareness. That, you know, the true philosopher, if you can hear the phonetics with the word philosopher, you'll hear the phi lost cipher. Now, the phi cycle is the physical world we're living in. So it's the cipher to lose phi. So we need to understand that this physical reality that we are here is not a part of the true existence. We're here to look around and to be able to see these thought forms, to be able to overcome these. So basics are very simple. Stop putting things in your thoughts, protect your thoughts, and you will become free just over a period of time. Even the thought of wanting to do something quickly is another thought that then you have to overcome. So just understand that you are exactly where you need to be right in this present moment. Be still in this moment. Look at your hands and recognize that you have this vessel, but you are the observer from this vessel. So then separate the thought and observe the thought is to become recognizing, to be able to change the way that you perceive your experience here and now. So if we leave that there, if that makes sense, and we'll progressively talk about this, then if I've answered your question, because I'm sure there's going to be more questions like this, it's literally stop putting things in your thoughts, because you will have to overcome these thoughts. They are demons.
Yeah, wow. So, so just to kind of reiterate and kind of feedback. So, observe your thoughts effectively. So when you're in meditation, you're watching the thought come in and coming, going out, and not getting attached to it.
That's
and
right.
Not going into it.
If you attach to the thought, it becomes an emotive emotion. And now your physical pain body is there to experience the pain of what thoughts can do to your body. And you'll feel it, whether it's in the stomach, in the heart, in the throat, in the head, or a headache. And these are the blocked energy centers that we have within. So to free the chakra system and to have the energy to flow up this body is to be free from every single type of thought that we have. And this again reverts back to the virtues. We need to liberate. If you understand the sine wave, and you'll see that it's all a cycle of this 8. Liber means to free, and this is free our 8. And we need to climb 8. And the true climb 8 change is happening with the earth, but we need to balance ourselves with this earth. Because as the earth progresses on its sine wave and the experience of this field, if we get left behind, this is why there's all this media about climate change, and it's a need, and there's this new 7-year clock from 2020. And if you truly understand astrology and the way the systems work with this double Taurus, which is what I'll be teaching a lot of on my channel and with Charlie, is that we've been given this, ultimately, this external reality, and now it's going to be progressively given us symbols that it's time to change the way that we vibrate by climbing 8. And this is the true climate change.
You're saying climate change is just, again, an analogy for what we actually need to be doing.
But within, the earth is forever changing its field. And we, as beings here in a set program, need to change it ourselves. So what we're trying to do internally now, and with this expansion of consciousness, is to change our 8, or to climb the 8, which is the vibrations within, which is the double torus that we can all become to reciprocate and have eternal life. And this is what the Bible is. It's the 2 bulls. Currently, we're on a red shift, and we need to bring the blue shift in. And this is why it's all about alkalinity, because we are all male, whether you're female or male, or a womb man or a man. And the divine feminine is the negative charge, blue shift. And this is why it's important to eat the foods that are alkaline. You can't be too alkaline because the body's acidic. So we need to balance this in every moment. With the foods we consume, they must be alkaline. The word alkaline is O-K align. Now, K is the 11th letter of the alphabet, which represents L even, which is, as Charlie said, these twin pillars represent 11. This is the temples, and this is why Freemasonry is freeing the mother's son. Freemasons is about freeing the mother's son. And these temples here is the L even, and this is why we balance out these to become free to number 9, which is consciousness. And the 7 radiant colors of Ra, which is S even, need to be balanced through our chakra system.
You two blow my mind. I'd love to know your past lives. But just going back to meditation, I'm coming to you, Charlie. So just going back to meditation, I love what you were saying around essentially cutting down on the external input that we had taken. So the television, the film, the news, like whenever we do meditation retreats, you know, silent meditation retreats, obviously I'm not connected here, I'm not connected to my phone, you know, we're in nature. And of course, for me, I find that so much easier just to plug in and meditate. But, you know, for me, I do find it more difficult if I'm busy and my mind's busy and there's a lot going on. So sort of simple things for people listening, if they do struggle with meditation, is, you know, find a way to maybe go for a walk first, or do something that kind of puts them into a more relaxed, less busy-minded state, so that then they can go into this observing place rather than being attached to their thoughts.
A lifestyle choice and a change is key, because if people just want to go for a walk to try to free their mind, it's never really going to happen. They're going to find thoughts there, and because the ego is so dominating, it's going to just basically recognize the fact that you're trying to free your mind, and then it's going to give you the most abundant of thoughts that you could ever wish for. So in that space, it's about progression and really recognizing the fact that you're exactly where you need to be. So just even thinking that you need to progress on this wheel of fortune, which is the fortune, which is the way that you tune yourself, is how you are expressing yourself in this present moment. So again, it will just be the continual steps and the recognizing the fact that, hang on a minute, I should be going for a walk to clear my mind. It is the slow progression of what's naturally happening and occurring within your physical nature to connect with this spirit. But really the truth is the thoughts are really coming just from the ether field and for the things we put in our body and the thoughts, etc. Food is so key, I can't express it. If I've helped heal thousands and thousands of beings with terminal diseases, but again, I've had an experience with people that are just looking via the spiritual side, and so many people are in that fixated zone where they're ill, and they're in a place where they would take selfies of themselves and not even recognize the fact that they're taking the same picture with a different t-shirt on every single day, and it's just the same thing. Within 6 weeks of having a juice fast, they no longer take pictures of themselves. They've reconnected with the earth. They're crying the fact that they've missed all of this and the trees and everything surrounding them. And now they have a connection to this earth because they've been on an acidic lifestyle. Thoughts are acidic. The food they consume is acidic. And there's no way to balance. So the ego will dominate via that acidic wavelength. So you must recognize the fact that food is your form. If you look at the word food, it says FOOD. Now the F represents 6, which is carbon and matter. The 2 O's in this thing represent the 2 Tauruses connecting, or sight. Now the D represents form, so it's the matter looking at your form, and this is food. This is why heal thy, healthy spells heal thy. Meals spell me all because they become you. So you must eat the alkaline diet. Predominantly, if you're making an exchange, you must try to stop cooking the food, because when you cook food, it starts to break down the digestive enzymes. The body has to make these digestive enzymes up. And in that process, the food becomes acidic, the system becomes acidic, and the stress on the body starts pulling minerals out, which is acidic. So the food needs to be in its raw state, in an holistic form, and then the body can start to heal itself, which is the mind and body connecting to the spirit. Because the mind and body is one physical nature, and this spiritual side is completely left if you have an acidic lifestyle. So I can't express how important the food is to get you on your spiritual journey. And once you're spiritual and you have the awareness that nothing's actually real and exists, if people want to go back to consuming the things they used to consume in that full awareness, it doesn't do the same as it used to do, because you now have separated yourself from this physical nature. So you don't have to be scared and think, I have to live this way for the rest of my life. But once you do, you truly will never go back, because the way that you feel, the way that you think is one with this divine creation, and is so separate from this individual, undivided duality, which is individuality.
Nice. Okay. Wonderful. And we did have some questions that came in actually around transitioning into that diet. And I've got some questions also that are coming up in the comments. So thank you to the audience for all of your questions. So I think, Charlie, if it's all right, what we'll do is we'll finish up on calcination, and then we'll maybe go into some questions. But would you like to add anything around meditation? Because obviously what Josh explained there was fantastic. Anything else you would like to add in around kind of how people can step into this?
Yeah, again, the whole point of becoming the observer is to live in the now. The only way that you can observe is to be in the now. And when you fail to live in the now, when you're trapped in this what appears to be real, but it is not. It is the illusion or the delusion of this physical realm. Then you're disconnected from all that is, and all that is the now. So once again, the now is the eternity of thought from God, because everything that we witness, whether we do so within or without, whether we do it through the 5 physical senses or the 2 higher senses, intuition and telepathy, 6 and 7 chakras, 6 and 7 senses, everything is coming eternally, always from the now, from the creator. So when you still yourself, when you connect to the now, what you begin to observe as the observer is the fact, as Josh just said, that we are an individual. So the individual is built into that word is duality. And the preface to the duality is in die. So once again, as Josh brilliantly explains, dielectricity is the stillness and silence of the Father in perpetual balance and harmony. So this is di is everything. It's the goal, it's the way, because it is the unification of 2 worlds. It's the yin and the yang, the 6 and the 9 to perpetuate this homeostasis on that middle plane. So that's the significance of DI. That's why you see words like letters like RA and all of these words like rainbow. It has, somewhere over the rainbow, the answer lies. Everything is over the rainbow. It all has to do with this Ra, and because Ra is rising, so we have to rise. And therein there's a story and there's an answer. But you look at the other word that is so powerful, and it's in virtually all of these key words, and it's DI. And DI is this balance. And that's what the Father is, to be able to do this live cam. We were just there about half an hour ago. We saw God live. And that's what he's doing all the time, is this perfect stillness and silence, which is the balance. Like Josh said, what is meditation? Meditation isn't just sitting there in silence, because if your mind is still functioning, you'll never attain. Doesn't matter if you're not saying or doing anything, your mind is working. So it's the mind that has to still and be silent. So the mind becomes still and silent when you achieve balance. And once again, because what is the balance? Balance is this middle way, is the dielectricity, is the DI, and that is the Father, which is no thought. So no thought. Thought is human thought, is temporal. God's moment, the now, where you've won, is eternal, is perpetual. It's perpetual motion in the nine, in here, which is the seat of our soul. So what is thought? Take no thought. Jesus Christ makes this so clear within the pages of the second bull, the blue bull. He makes this so clear. Take no thought. So what is your name? How are you doing? How's your day going? Are you enjoying this day? No, I asked you a question. Yeah, how's your day going? No, what's your name? Yes, it's a beautiful day, isn't it? And are you enjoying this day? Asking is living in the moment. When someone asks you a question, you do not fall into the dualistic realm of redshift, of the physical form, because a name is not me. Josh is the master at explaining this. You cannot participate in their system if you do not have a name or an address. Good luck trying to serve someone with a subpoena. Remember, only a dead man can serve a summons to appear in court. That's their system of the Maritime Admiralty Law, where it all is built upon us being corpsorations, dead bodies. That's why all the language that they use traps us into this world of dead. Thus, the celebration of Halloween that we're just about to go into, and All Souls Day, possessing our souls, and then May Day, All Child's Day, possessing the physical body. These two key days that are 6 months apart from each other, they're 6 and 9 and 6. But the reality is that when you have no name and no address, na me, when you are na me, not name, name is na me, not me. When you are na me, you are disconnected from their world, from their system. And that means that you drop into the now. And when you're in the now, you won, because then you begin to see. What is what you see? Individuality is in duality, okay? And so what is this key to becoming the individual? You have to go within, in, di. What did we just say? Which is the Father, di is the Father. That's the balance of all things. What is the first thing that the Father did to create creation? The Father created himself as a masculine alpha, from an alpha masculine perspective. The second thing that he did is create the number 2, the letter B, which is the sacred feminine mother, the 6 to the 9. And so now you get this duality of two worlds, above and below, in and out, with the universe, with your soul, okay? Everything is this duality. And to achieve the duality, you have to go in, di, which is balance, duality. So the individual is he who goes in to achieve stillness and silence, which is the balance between two worlds, to become the conqueror of the duality back to the singularity. And the singularity is the single I, which is the seat of your soul, which is where the number 9 is. This is the single I. This is the third eye. This is the optic thalamus, pineal gland father, pituitary gland mother, optic thalamus child, Jesus Christ. There are 12 cranial nerves, and the 12 cranial nerves exist in a perfect circle around the optic thalamus right here, okay? And no matter where Jesus goes, his flock is sure to follow. Everywhere Jesus goes, there's the 12 that follow. And the 12 plus the 1 is the most hated, misunderstood, misunderstood number in the history of mankind, and that's the number 13. Don't take the number 13 in sports for your jersey. Don't go on an elevator and get off at the 13th floor. Don't sit on the 13th row of an airplane. Most of these places don't even put the 13 as an option. There are literally buildings in this world, famous buildings, that don't have a 13th floor. Because they like you, because they care about you, while they force you to live as a dead person and own you in every single moment and trade you as a surety, your birth certificate, and they make millions of billions of dollars by betting against you all your life, but they suddenly care about you with the number 13. 13 is Jesus Christ. 13, Josh just said something so beautiful, and that is understanding the Bible as two bulls. There's the old bull, which is the Old Testament, which is redshift. That's why it's so ugly. That's why there's angry God and so many people dying in Sodom and Gomorrah and all of these things. It's the left-hand path. It's redshift. It is the lower mind. It is the lower consciousness of humanity attempting to rise. The New Testament is Jesus Christ. What does Jesus Christ spend the entire time trying to do? To rise. He casts his net to the right. He casts his net to the right because he's attempting to rise. Blue shift rising in the Tiffany blue skies to achieve singularity. We've fallen into duality, and now we must rise again into singularity. The singularity is the single eye, which activates the pineal gland, which sends an electric charge via the stria pinealis, a ganglion of nerves, which rolls back the furnace or the fornix. The fornix rolls back and it reveals the very final chamber of the third ventricle of your brain, which is that third eye. The very last chamber is the chamber of the bridegroom. Bridegroom. Father and mother, father, mother, child. All of this is tied to human physiology. And now we can take this all back to Nikola Tesla, right? Oh my God, we're on the cusp of Donald Trump, and just talking about Tesla and his brother John Trump was one of these scientists that went to Tesla's apartment and collected all of these documents from Tesla's apartment, and he kept them. And then, President Richard Nixon, we're told, had a real deep understanding of Tesla's teachings, and he knew them so well. Nixon could sit from memory and write down this formula for perpetual energy, and he could write it out on a piece of paper, which he did to Henry Kissinger, and he said, "Take it to your masters." Nixon, when he was kicked out of office, he became really good friends, close friends with Donald Trump. Everything around Tesla connects to Donald Trump. And now Donald Trump is this miraculous president. And now we're talking about maybe these Tesla towers, and we're talking about free energy and all of these things.
And Charlie, can you bring it so we can go full circle? Can you bring it back round so we can kind of summarize calcination? Like the burning away of the ego for people, because
yes.
Then I want to come on to, we've got questions. I really want.
Yep, for sure. Well, the heart and soul of this is this. The reason that I brought all of this up, because it's so important. What did Nikola Tesla say is the basis to our reality? He said, everything is energy. And what you need to know is that there's two forms of energy. There's electricity and there's magnetism. And people are going, magnetism? I thought that was just like a magnet and you stuck things to it and it's kind of really cool. Tesla's saying, no, a magnet or magnetism is 1,000,000 times more powerful than electricity, and we know nothing about it. You can get a degree in university on anything. You can't get a degree in magnetism. Why? Because it's the answer, it's the way. So Tesla said, and by the way, Tesla said with the Einstein's theory of gravity, he described it as false. And he said what they're attributing gravity to is the natural downward causation of electricity. So you need to all listen and understand this at the very simplest level. We are the child of the mother and the father. What do we say? Father, again, is stillness and silence. Okay. What is the mother? Mother is Mari, M-A, Mari. What is Mari? Mari is M 13 of 26, which is the middle of the alphabet. M-A, which is connected to the M-A-G. So it is Mary Magdalene, mag. In Sanskrit, what is mag? Motion. What is magnetism? Constant motion. The Father is stillness and silence, is this. Stationary, still. And the mother, who is so in love with the father, is this. She does this in a perfect 8. She is moving around the father in deep love and passion and appreciation. And every time she connects with the father, she creates friction. Look in any encyclopedia or any technical manual about the definition of electricity. What does it say? Electricity can best be described as friction. We are the children of the mother and the father. The father, stillness and silence, the mother, magnetism, which is motion, and the friction that is caused is the child. So we are, as Josh teaches so beautifully, we are the electrical children. And as the electrical children, like Josh said at the beginning of the show, of course we fell from singularity down into the duality. We're electrical. That's what we do. And that's why we will, until we rise ourselves back up, it's why the samsara will always kick us back down the wheel to the bottom again, because we're electrical beings, and electricity is a downward causation. Nikola Tesla, it's the basis of his teaching, is that electricity is a downward causation. Then how do we rise? The only other form of energy that exists is magnetism. What does magnetism do? It is identified by its wave, and the wave of magnetism is a scalar wave. And what is the shape of a scalar wave? It is the number 8. It is a vertical 8. And what does the number 8 do? In perpetuity, it rises, and it comes back home, and it rises, and it comes back home, and it rises. Magnetism rises. You cannot have Jesus Christ without Mary Magdalene. That's why the Bible has been butchered by the Roman Catholic Church, and why key books, key gospels, key passages have been removed out of this brilliant book to take away the mother out of this book, the Mother Mary, because she rises. It's the only way. So when you're talking about calcination and this beginning process and the killing of the ego, that's the one story. How does this one story always start? No matter it's Super Mario on a computer game, or it's in any one of these children's stories, or a Disney movie, it always starts the same way. There is a person on a journey, and he comes across a damsel in distress, and the damsel is being held against her will in a dungeon. And he has to go down into the dungeon and confront the dragon of all beasts, and he has to slay the dragon to be able to release the damsel in distress. And then what do they always do? The damsel needs to get back to the castle because she's supposed to marry the king. She's actually the queen, and she's been held against her will down in the bowels, right? The Muladhara root chakra, the base of our torso, the base of our human physiology, and she must rise. So that's why Super Mario M has to slay the dragon. The dragon is your ego. This is calcination. This is absolutely calcination. This is exactly where it starts. So we are the electrical children created by the friction caused between the lovemaking between the father, stillness and silence, and the mother, constant motion. Okay? So the two,
burning away our ego, basically.
The first step, that's right. Energy. Because Jesus Christ in the second bull, the blue book of the Bible, the second bull, Jesus Christ cannot rise without Mary Magdalene. That's why she's been turned into a whore in the pages of the New Testament, and her own gospel has been taken out of the sacred ancient scriptures because they can't have the connecting piece of truth. The connecting piece of truth is this, that for mankind, and that doesn't matter if it's man or womb man, we're both electrical beings. We're downward causations. We will never rise up Jacob's ladder without help. We need help, and that help is magnetism, which exists within the mother. The Mother Mary is this, and that's why she's pure. That's why she's virtuous, and that's why she's pure, because she has no sin of thought. She's connected with the Father, and therefore she may rise. And so you see how beautiful this is, the Holy Trinity, Father, Mother, Child. And when Jacob did all of this, and Jacob in the pages of Genesis crossed the river, and he wrestled with his ego for a day, and then an angel from God approached and said, "Will you stop?" And he said, "I will never stop in my pursuit for this truth to find the Father." And he says, "What is your name?" "My name is Jacob." He said, "That is too poor a name for you. I shall call you." Now, this is the Bible, okay? For all of you who just wrap your heads around the Bible, this is the Genesis, the beginning of the Bible, 32:30. And what does he say? "I shall give you a new name, Israel." Ra. Josh has been talking so much about the sun god Ra. Is Isis. L is Saturn. Saturn is the child, the electrical child of the father and the mother. Is Mother Mary. Ra, Joseph, father, masculine. L, child, Saturn. This is why they gave the name Israel. The Holy Trinity is this story. And the last chamber of the third ventricle of your brain, when the fornix rolls back, the chamber of the bridegroom, who's the best man? Saturn, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is the best man. And he led Mary back up to the chamber of the bridegroom so that the bride, Mary, can marry the father, the groom. Josh loves this when I say this. Bride is the B ride. B is the second letter of the alphabet. The number 2 is the beautiful, shapely number 2 comes second. That is the mother, magnetism, Mary, mother, shapely. And the B is the second letter, and that's the breast and the belly. And that's the B of the shapely, beautiful mother. And that's the B ride of the mother because she's magnetism and she rises to the G room, G for God. And that's the room of God upon high in heaven. This is heaven upon earth, is right here. And the only way that she can get there is if Jesus Christ, if the child slays the dragon. And there is calcination.
And this is why we're having so many people experiencing ego deaths currently as we shift. Basically, so many people are having ego deaths currently. We are seeing it left, right, and center because it's this first stage of this alchemical ladder. So out there, we are witnessing, we are experiencing our friends, our family, depending on where we are on the spiritual path, will depend on what's happening in our life. If we've stepped into our divinity, if we've stepped into our purpose, then we might be further along the journey. But if we're just waking up, often we go through this ego death, this calcination, this breaking attachments, breaking away from status, from wealth, from fame, from prestige. Our ego kind of, it collapses basically. So it's a fascinating stage. And a lot of people are really experiencing this on the planet at the moment. So that's why we wanted to go into it. We're going to look at the next stage next week, but I'd really like to come on to some questions because I really want people to get their questions answered as well. So Joe Blake actually wrote in before the show and asked a question. Josh, I'm going to come to you about transitioning into this raw food diet. So she's somebody that's kind of been eating quite a lot of vegan food, but how does she transition fully into a raw food diet?
First of all, if she's eating vegan food, she should transition into a holistic food diet that probably would contain certain cooked foods with raw foods as a mix, and then move on to a raw food diet. So again, there's one thing being plant-based and there's one thing being vegan. Vegan is something that's being pushed right now, but it's to get people off meat and to allow that industry to fade out. But the veganism, again, is not a healthy diet. It's quite probably worse for you if you can get trapped into these foods because there's so many chemicals from the waste products of this industry that are being put into the foods that get filtered through the body through lack of awareness, which again is a pain body experience. So it's very important that we're eating the whole foods first. So maybe something that people could have a few, like a meal system where they would rise, have an orange juice freshly squeezed, not from a bottle because bottles have been pasteurized, which is past your eyes, so you shouldn't be drinking it. This gets heat treated, which agitates and denatures the molecules inside. Now the body can't digest it. So this creates acidosis and it's not healing at all. Then maybe for the second meal, midday, I would say, or maybe, the 11s or the 10s, a smoothie. 5 bananas, 1 mango, an avocado, and a small amount of orange juice. This would be nice, filling. It's going to enlighten the body. For us, for a more of a heavy meal, I would say have 1 heavy meal a day. If you're transitioning, and maybe use a potato, a squash would be the best ideal because it's a fruit still, or a sweet potato with avocado, cucumber, tomato, for say. And then in the evening, maybe another juice or a smoothie or even both. Now, for somebody transitioning to a raw diet, it's very important to keep the volume high of the food that they're consuming because they may feel hunger going from another diet that bloats you out, because most people are eating foods that inflame the intestine. And with the intestine being inflamed, there's this false fullness paradigm that you feel existing in the body. So one is to stay very full of it, but to obviously try to create foods that are enjoyable. So sauces, one, would be great. And I would say a quick idea of sauces would be to utilize the sweet, savory, sour, etc. So one sauce, two tomatoes of a big size, maybe like a vine tomato, 5 dates, one mango, black pepper, some chives, some coriander, some lemon juice, with a half an avocado to blend that. If you were to peel a cucumber and to continue peeling it, you would get strips of tagliatelle. Now you could drop a few peas in it. You could drop anything you want in it. You stir that up and create this wonderful creamy sauce. It's the most wonderful tasting food, and you could consume that all through the day. Start to utilize ice cream. So you would freeze bananas. You would chop them first, put them in a glass container and freeze them. Always make sure that you prepare these things. Sorry, I'm talking fast, but I'm just trying to get it in. And I know
No, I
people
love it.
can replay this. And then you would just mix a fruit of your choice to create the flavor you wish. So if you wish to create a cocoa flavor, chocolate flavor, you would just add dates, maybe 8 medjool dates and 2 scoops of cocoa powder. If you want a mango one, you could just put mango in with these frozen bananas and you create an ice cream. Strawberries, raspberries, etc. This is what you'll create. Smoothies, base 5 bananas, add any fruit into these things. And for breakfast, always try to start with an orange juice or something very light on the digestive system, because you don't really want to break fast. You want to continue the fast, because only when the digestive system is allowed to rest, if you listen to the word digestive, it's about the movement in balance. Now, if you're constantly digesting food, the blood flow gets removed from the other parts of the body to digest. Now, this takes the healing away from the body. So always try to continue the fast, don't break the fast. And then as you progress through the day, have the soft, subtle fruits or the smoothies into the heavier meals and then back down to the lighter foods. This will heal like 95% of all disease just by transitioning to this. Certain types of diseases will need even longer fasting periods. So intermittent fasting between, certain meals is great. So I'd fast for a day, or even just try to prolong the fasting with juices as long as you can. And then the 1% that can't heal via this diet would need to do like a full holistic juice diet for 6 to 8 weeks. And obviously utilizing cannabis oil in its holistic form actually regulates the endocannabinoid system, which regulates homeostasis in the body between all the systems. The endocannabinoid system is within the body, and this balances out the endocrine system, nervous systems, the immune system, and every system that's in the body. So there's a very quick way to health, and it's through the healing food of alive nature. If you wish to become alive and high vibrational, consume alive and vibrational foods.
Wonderful explanation. I love it. Thank you. And that's something that everyone can do, really, isn't it? Fresh orange juice or smoothies, like real fruit or avocado or
It's
green
simple.
alkalizers.
Yeah. And I would say try not to fall trap into the industry with certain powders, certain drinks, certain medication, tablets, etc. The only thing that's going to hurt you, being an electrical being, is this food. And as Charlie said earlier, the Mother Earth, everything electrical needs to be earthed or grounded. The key is in the words. So for you to reciprocate this energy, one must be earthed and grounded. So you must eat the food from the earth, and the paws of your little feet, which are the soles, should always try to be connected to the ground, because this is how energy will flow. And the negative charge comes within because we're positively charged beings.
I am barefoot as we speak.
Are they
Uh,
hairy? Barefoot?
Thank you. No, something I have in the morning is uh, an alkagizer. So celery, avocado, cucumber, spinach. Yeah, that's about it. And then just zhuzh it up and have that for my breakfast as such. But sets me up for the beginning of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that was really great and really, really simple things that people can do to start to transition. So Charlie, I've got a question from Violetta. Can you explain a little bit more about the event on the 21st, 22nd until the 25th of December this year? So the spiritual aspect, the shifting energy.
Yeah, it's we Colleen and I did a podcast on this last year, and this is the truth about Christ Mass, and this is where Christmas is Christ Mass, and Mass is a celebration of Christ, which is the chrism, which is consciousness, is the essence of you inside of you rising. So this whole process of astrology is always connected in every single moment. So this is the Hermetic principle, Hermes of some people say ancient Greece, but I would say Atlantis. Hermes and the Hermetic principle is the most singular, important, overriding guide to everything, and it never stops existing. It is the truth of our reality in every single moment. So what is the Hermetic principle? As above, so below, as within, so without, as with the universe, so with the soul. We're all connected. Everything is a microcosm of the macrocosm. So if you want to know, for example, how do we know what's on the other side of the firmament, what's out there in space? Then you would just go to the microcosm, which is inside of you. We are exactly created in a microcosm of the macrocosm. So there's the ocean below and the ocean above. Everything is related to one another. That's how you come to learn when nobody's telling you the truth. When everything that they do through the mainstream media is a lie, well, then how are we supposed to find the truth? Go within. Go within. That's the microcosm of the macrocosm. You want to learn about the macrocosm, what's out there, you go within. That's the microcosm of the macrocosm. And the macrocosm, if you can find some truth out there, will always tell you, about the microcosm. Everything that you truly see out there is always telling you what you can't see inside of you. By the way, that's why astrology, more than anything else, is about this part of us. Certainly it is from the crown to the torso. It is the 7 chakras for sure. But so much of astrology is this, because that's that part that we really have a tough time getting inside of and seeing and knowing. And that's the symbology of all the things that you see in the sky. So right now, once you get to the fall of man, which is the last light of September 21st and the first light of September 22nd, this is the fall of man, and there's nothing to be afraid of. It's perfectly natural. That's the way the system is created. Celebrate your fall. I was talking earlier about your food, and that a transitional diet is probably the best way to get to an exclusive raw diet, and then eventually a juicing diet, and then eventually a breatharian diet. But this process is that when you think of yourself and see yourself through the Hermetic principle, connected to everything and all things at all time, then you realize, well, this is the fall of man, and I'm falling back to my uncles. I'm falling out of my higher head in heaven upon the hearth, heaving to the heap of the head. And now I'm falling to my uncles in Egypt. Okay. This is a great time, like Josh says, if you're going to be transitioning, it's a wonderful time, because now's the perfect time to be able to partake in a little bit of seeds and nuts, and to be able to cook some foods. Like Josh said, a squash, because essentially the squash is a fruit, and it's so nutritious and so delicious. But sweet potatoes as well, just absolutely fantastic foods. And then, of course, what do? You, in the morning, because you have your work to do during the day, in the morning, you start this process, low heat, long periods of time. You can just let them steam beautifully. There's no need for oils. There's no need. That's why we are over 70% water. That's why the earth is over 70% water. You don't need to cook with any oil. Steam your foods. It's beautiful. And then it's lower temperature for longer periods of time. When you come back from your work, you're ready naturally, beautifully, in peace and harmony and balance, able to enjoy this food. And it makes perfect sense, because we literally are falling. So think of yourself as the level earth, and then you're applying it on this angle now, okay? And so this becomes the clock. The only clock that exists is the Big Dipper around Polaris, the pole star, the center star, the magnetic north. That's the only clock that exists. So if you look at the swastika, which is the most beautiful creation there is, when you look at the swastika, this is what's happening right now. So don't fear the reaper, embrace the reaper. Don't worry about death, because the whole point of this fall to the rising is that you're going to experience, if you do it right, you're going to experience here at the rise of man, Passover. See, why do they teach us about Easter? Because it's a lie. Why do they hide Passover from the Bible? Because it's the truth. What is Passover? It tells you in the name. It tells you in the story of the first child of Egypt, and God in his wrath is going to send this energy forth in the night that is going to take the firstborn child, male child of Egypt. That's an allegory. The first male-born child of Egypt. Egypt is the left brain, and the first male-born child is thought, is a pure human thought, is a borning. You have to born these thoughts into existence because they're temporal. They're not always perpetual, which is the Father here in the conscious nine, the seat of the soul. So we think it's temporal. That's the allegory of the Bible. God never killed anyone. There's no, God is creation. He's love. There's no killing. It's just taking no thought. It is killing of human thought. And that's why it's always women and children and the firstborn males, because it's just killing the reproduction of thought. That's what Sodom and Gomorrah represent. Sodom and Gomorrah is this constant left brain production of thought. That's what we have to stop. And that's when Lot's wife turns around again, because she can't leave thought, and she turns into a pillar of salt, because she's unwilling to leave the left brain. And we must cross that river. So this is what the symbology of everything that's going on right now is, that we're on the ride. It's a great ride. Trust in the ride. This is the Big Dipper. Okay, this is the swastika. And so we're headed here. And so, like I said, the fall of man starts with the last light on September 21st and the first sunlight of September 22nd. Same process back down here. So now we're in the womb. We are in the base, the bottom of human physiology. This is the crown. Down here is the base, or the root Muladhara. So we're down in the intestines and the reproductive organs of mankind. And we have fallen as far as we can. And we are in total darkness everywhere around us. So we need a miracle. That's what God's for. Constantly, the Creator, to love us, and constantly is providing us with opportunity after opportunity. The chrism oil, 13 months a year, the chrism oil is released within us because God loves us, because a miracle is, the eucatastrophe is possible in any moment. So we're constantly gifted miracles and opportunities. That's what this process is with the December 21st. So on December 21st, the last light of December 21st, Josh and I are going to be doing a massive show that we want Eloise to be a part of, celebrating this winter solstice and this great transformation of mankind, which is truly occurring. So when we get to December 21st, the last light of December 21st is the lowest that we can possibly go. And then an amazing thing happens, and it truly does, because perceptually it does. I've checked it again and again and again, and it does. The sun rises in the exact same spot in relation to the Southern Cross in the southern sky on December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. It does. It's a 3-day period of incubation. Josh can go to town on that word. Incubation, the 3-day period in the cave, right? And the fornix, the rock is closed on the cave, and in the center of the whale, right? Jonah in the great fish falls into a great fish. For 3 days, he's in the center's stomach, and he comes out, and he's a calm prophet of God. Anyways, so this is that miracle that occurs. So the stillness and the silence and inside the cave, the incubation, December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And then the miracle is that life is given back to us again through light. God is the God of living, not the God of the dead. And so by stilling ourselves, by fasting ourselves for these 3 days. What are we taught at Christmas? Eat, 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 drink, celebration, parties, friends, get everybody, everything going, have it going. No, it's the tomb. It's absolute, the death of the old and the resurrection of the new. That's what's going on here, folks. So it's stillness, it's silence, it's meditation, it's no food, not me, no name, no address, no food. And then for 3 days, this casting away of the old and the resurrecting of the new. And like I said, on December 25th is the birth. This is the rebirth. But that's what you need to know. That's always being lied to you. They tell you this like it's a history book. It happened one time with one person 2,000 years ago in the Holy Land. It's every single year, and it's every single one of us. This is a gift for all of us, not just for one dude who wasn't even really a man. And he's the only child of God, but he wasn't even really a child. And then now they've exalted him that he is God. So there is no God. So he wasn't even the child of God that wasn't a child. He's now God himself, because that's what they've done to it. Because that's what religion does. It just lies to you. Lie, so you don't know the truth. December 25th is the rebirth of man. And then you have these 3 incredible moons, and they lead to Pisces. Why in astrology do we rise to Pisces and then into Aries? Why Pisces and then into Aries? Because Pisces is the closest thing to God you can get, because Pisces is 2 fish, which is wisdom. Why does Jesus say, cast thy net to the right and your net shall be filled with fish? And they do so. How many fish were in the net? 153 fish. 9. 1 + 5 + 3 is 9. Okay. How many fish? When Jesus came to the land and had to feed 1,000 people, he did it with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. How does he achieve this with just 2 fish and 5? Because 2 is wisdom. He fed them with wisdom. And then 5 loaves of bread represent the 5 physical senses. And the wisdom is that you must arise above the 5 physical senses. Your 5th and physical sense stops here. That's the blood-brain barrier. And this is where death occurs, death of the physical form. That's why this gesture occurs, because this is death of the physical form to resurrect into the eternal perpetual form, which is here. 6th chakra, 7th chakra, intuition, telepathy. And when you do this on March 21st and March 22nd, then guess what happens? When Father Time, the angel of death of God, comes on the morning of March 22nd, and he comes to put another notch on your belt, he will pass you over. He will pass you over because you live in the house of the holy. Led Zeppelin. You live in the houses of the holy. This is the house of the holy, and you must cross over. And that's why 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. And why is Pisces just before Aries? Because the closest thing to godliness is wisdom, and that is Pisces. And that is why the 2 fish, and that is why we must cast our net to the right. If you wish to be rich in God and wisdom, then you cast your net to the right. And I can't explain it any better than that, because everything is connected. So the fall of man that we just had right here is all connected to here, which is the springing up of man. And that's why we have those 3 days here, that miracle, December 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, because you must go in your incubator and incubate for those 3 days before you are recharged, reborn again. Jonah and the whale is not some stupid story of history that some guy fell into a fish for 3 days. It is the allegory of allegories. It is the tale of tales. It is you, it is I, and it's what we must do. We must fall into that whale. That's what the pyramids are. The pyramids are the pineal gland. And you go inside your pineal gland because that is the portal to the Father. And that's what the pyramids were. The pyramids were a place to meditate. You look at the inside of the pyramids, they are exact in proportionate size to the third ventricle of the brain. There's the king's chamber, which is the pineal gland. There is the queen's chamber, which is the pituitary gland. And then there is the center chamber, which is the optic thalamus. When they're there for 3 days and 3 nights in pure stillness, silence, and meditation, they illuminate the center chamber, which then rises and illuminates the pineal gland, the capstone of the pyramid. And then what does the capstone do? As pure, because it's rising, so it's magnetism. And then what does magnetism do? It pulsates out this light, this energy. And what's the frequency that it pulsates out at? 432 hertz. 432 hertz pulsing to the people. And why are the pyramids on a ley line? So that this energy is transmutated 1,000-fold, so that it can cross vast distances upon this plane, share this energy. So two people in a pyramid in Cheops in Egypt, and they're providing healing, real health and real medicine for millions and millions of people, thousands of miles across the vast plain. That's the significance of December 21st, 22nd, or 22nd, 23rd, 24th, from the 21st to the 25th. It's a miracle. All of this is a miracle.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And I can add that I had the privilege of spending the weekend with a very dear friend of mine who is an astrologer, and she's been practicing for at least 40 years. And she was saying that the planets are aligning and we are going to have an incredible Christmas. She can see it in the astrology. So yeah, lots to look forward, huge amounts to look forward to. I want to finish with a really quick, fun question, because the ladies asked it a couple of times in capital letters in the comments. So I want to just answer this question. So Josh, I'm going to come to you. She's asking about orbs, and if you have any kind of insight around. She saw a golden orb, and she's just wondering if you have any insight into kind of what they are essentially.
It would just be a slight glimpse and a physical manifestation of an energy. There's obviously energy around us at any given moment, and we are energy inside a physical form, and energy is floating around the ether trying to habitate physical forms, or just having a different type of dimension, because visible light that we see in this spectrum here is only perceivable or receivable by our perception. So sometimes people get a glimpse of energy, sometimes through photography, sometimes through like non-visual contacts that they see out the peripheral of the vision. But again, it's essentially just energy. While we have a second, I wanted to put a little bit of synchronicity to words of what Charlie said. If you hear the incubate, hear the incubate, and cube is a box, but the word cube is C-U-B. And if you look at the word box, you'll see B-ox. And then the word square is S-Q-U-R. Now, the philosopher or the magician is trying to circle the square. If you see the pyramids as pi, ra, mid. Now, pi is the circling of the sun, and then mid is my, M-I-D form. So the pyramids there are to basically circle the sun in your form. And I know that it's quite a lot to take in for most people, but people that can understand it will get a lot of synchronicities from what I just said there. So it's very important through this period of Christmas is coming up. Me, the X fam, and the Charlie and Colleen fam, we're going to be doing, and I'm definitely doing this with my partner, and I'm sure Charlie's jumping on with it because we will be speaking about this soon, is a 20-day fast of juicing leading up to the 20th of December, and then a 3-day water fast. And what we will be doing is cleaning out the system, and the system then will become receptive to the energies that are externalized to bring them within. And then we can actually reciprocate with the Earth's energies and create a wonderful space for the gifts of the energetic alignment that's happening within astrology to give us a wonderful present around Christmas time, and to be able to upgrade our awareness and consciousness, because all it is about building perception and being receptive to life, because life is forever expanding, and what we don't want to do is not expand with the true nature of this existence. So if we can become subtle and receptive, we can increase our perceptions, inception, and grow in awareness, which is what we are here to do.
And is that something that you guys are going to be like talking about, that other people can potentially come on that journey with you? Or?
Yeah, we're going to be definitely, as Charlie said earlier, we're creating a night full of wonderful beings who are holistically in the truth. And we're going to be having an evening where we're going to get in guests who are going to bring wonderful music, who are expressing themselves in an honest way that's going to liberate consciousness. People from all walks and areas of gnosis, and a wonderful evening, basically, so people can bring in the solstice and experience a dimension of life that they may not have experienced before progressively, and raise their awareness in this one evening, hopefully to an exponential size than they've never experienced. So to bring new capabilities in. If the word capability could talk to you, you see you have capabilities. Then the ability is a by light, which is the two lights of the two balls of the two Taurus of the Bible. And we will be bringing in a great evening. So we look forward to it, and we're going to start building this very soon. So we're starting to put the information out there that there is going to be a wonderful evening. And me and Charlie are both currently trying to build a wonderful healing sanctuary for the raising of awareness and to realign the system for perfection and healing with a how could you say it, like a spiritual ashram where we can connect the mind and body in a healing way to the spiritual side, with a fruit forest that could feed thousands and thousands of people. Wow. To set the stage for consciousness and beings who are in a position to try and replicate this across the earth. And you know, we've got 7 years until the climate change needs to happen, hence the climate clock that's happened in Times Square. Do not fear, the earth's not going to disappear, but we must match the resonance with the work that we put in. So it's time, and together to get her, we will be sharing the information of all the ages into a synchronicity that one can understand, overstand, and put into action, which is their true karma, which is the K armor to life.
Nice. Well, if you would be so kind, I appreciate it's hot off the press, but if you would be so kind to put some details in the chat of this so people are interested, they can find out more, that would be amazing. But that sounds incredible. Charlie, anything you want to add before we finish up this evening?
That is you. Can you guys see that okay?
So brain, body, middle way.
So it looks like that's an 18. So you see the 8 and the 1. The 1 is the middle plane, and the 8 is you. And that's why you have the higher mind and the lower mind, higher consciousness and lower consciousness. When you look at, you're really, and this is the double sign with the Taurus field, in is the hyperbole, and X always, Josh would know this, Josh, X always marks this is where this perpetual nature of the 8 is here at the intersect ions, intersect, and 8. The A connected by X, the back between this perfect structure, the hieroglyphics of the language feel all of these things, and the intersection between two realms. And that's why the 1 exists upon this way, and is the way. Way is the unison of these two realms. It isn't just so Josh said earlier in the show, just to rise to the crown. Because if we do this and we all stay here, then over time, even the violet crown will turn vile and violent. Because we'll look down upon the fall, and we'll start cast our gaze and we'll cast judgment against them. and is back to hell again, and then we have to sleep all over again. So basically, what the Buddha taught in Buddhism is that it is journey of the Torah from root chakra to the Ajna to the third eye chakra to chakra, but then you must come, but we must come, must return middle way. And again, this is what's the heart
So
chakra?
Charlie, unfortunately,
Heart
Charlie,
chakra
unfortunately, we're losing you. Oh, now you're back. Unfortunately, we couldn't see you or hear that last bit. So the signal's gone a bit funny. So what we'll do is hold that thought. You've got that beautiful diagram. Well, let's go into that diagram, like first thing next week. And then for guys listening, what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis is we're going to be having this show on a weekly basis, 6 o'clock UK time. I think it's 10 a.m. Is it your time,
Pacific
Charlie?
Standard Time.
Pacific Standard Time.
Pacific Time. Yeah, it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We'll put all the time zones out so everybody knows when it is. But we would love you to come back. We would love you to send in questions. You can send questions to support@aloise.life, and we will answer your questions. We're also going to be getting some of you guys to come in to the Zoom room with us and ask your questions live. And we'll also be doing this update. So I think it will be a great idea, Charlie, to do that update of what's happening, you know, at the beginning of the show, so people get really up-to-date live information about where we are in this kind of evolutionary process. But I want to say thank you to both of you. Both of you blown my mind with the level of knowledge that you've got. And it's great to be here just to kind of really kind of ask you those questions that really help nail it for everybody listening. But I want to say thank you for coming on this evening. We'll be back this time next week. And yeah, it's been an incredible privilege to be with both of you this evening. And I've just seen some of the comments. Everybody's enjoying it. So we will start next week with that diagram. But thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Josh.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, and I hope everybody has a wonderful evening and they remember to stay in the presence of now. Do not let the demons come in. Take charge. Love you all.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And Charlie, hopefully we can hear you.
Cast thy net to the right. Cast thy net to the right every moment, and you'll be right.
Beautiful, people. So you heard it here first. Stay in the moment. Send us your questions, and we will see you next week with another beautiful Innerstanding Spirituality Show. Bye.